Yeah, here I am, the original HBIC, Katie motherfucking Boyd. And on today's episode of the Ambitious Podcast, we are talking about how we, you and I, teach people how to treat us. Because let me tell you something, I don't know what the fuck has been going on in this world, but people are like next fucking level audacious. I don't know if they've always been this way. I'm going to be honest. I feel like post pandemic, people have like lost their ever loving minds. And the more that I'm around different people from all across the globe, whether it's, just when I'm traveling or in my coaching or on my app or just day to day, like even just going out to dinner with my husband, I just feel like people are just so fucking out of their tree and they're so audacious and they just got the balls of a buffalo with nothing to back it up. And I think for myself, and this is why I'm doing this podcast, because I always do things because I have to also learn and teach myself certain aspects of just day-to-day life that I maybe be kind of struggling with. And one thing I don't like about myself is, sometimes I'm like, why did that person treat me that way? Or why did that person show up this way? And what I do know for sure is there was something along the way when I was talking to this person or how friendly I was to this person or how nice I was or how I might have given them some kind of, free advice because I'm a loving, caring person that it just gave them this permission, if you will, to just start treating me like the second class citizen that I am not. And I'm sure that, you're listening right now and you're probably shaking your heads from wherever you're listening from all over the world, and you're probably going through or have gone through the same exact thing. So this isn't just for you out there in Ambitious Land. This is also for me because this is something that I've always, no matter how successful I get, something I've always struggled with. It's really truly about like the audacity of people. And it's like, no, it has nothing to do with them. It's everything to do with you. So that's what this podcast is going to be all about. My hopes that after you listen to this podcast, and this is also for myself, that I start really showing up stronger and more powerful than I ever have been so that I have better relationships. I'm happier. I feel my core desired feelings more. And I'm not left at night when I lie my head on the pillow questioning all of the moves that I had made throughout the day and how they did or did not serve me. My deepest desire is to have everything I do serve me and be super intentional. And I think that most of you out there in Ambitious Land feel the exact same way. So let's get into it. So the saying is, you teach people how to treat you, means that the way that you respond to and tolerate others' behavior, including mistreatment, so this is good and bad, obviously, shapes how they will continue to behave towards you. And by accepting certain behaviors, you inadvertently communicate that those behaviors are acceptable. Now, I have this conversation with a lot of my clients, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. Being ambitious is about radical responsibility. And this is something that not only have so many of my thousands of clients had a really hard time with, but sometimes I have a hard time, a difficult time with it as well, because no one wants to hear, oh, the reason why this person treats you like shit is because you, like 10 years ago, opened this door that cannot be closed. And I can't tell you how much of a people pleaser in the past that I have been. And a lot of that has to do with trauma from my childhood, certain things that I've gone through in my life. But when you know better, you have to do better, right? So I'm going to give you all of these different stories and different ways that we can, as ambitious women, show up with radical responsibility. Because when you show up with radical responsibility, you're saying, listen, I'm in power, I'm in control, I can fix the things that I can fix the things that I allowed to go awry, even if it was a really long time ago. Because I think another thing that people think is, oh, I allowed this 15, 20, 30, how many ever years ago, so I can't fix it now. And that's not true. Sometimes we just have to show up in a much different way than how we're showing up now. Okay. So when someone is treating you the way that you do not desire to be treated, it is something that is in your control 110%. And this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to shape it. So, the first thing that we do, and if you haven't listened to other podcasts of mine, go back and listen to all of my podcasts about boundaries because it's so, so important. Also, in my book, I have a whole chapter about setting boundaries. It's one of the life makers or breakers in Ambitious. Okay. So, when you have pristine boundaries and you're living your life very intentionally, people are going to show up and treat you way differently than they do now. So if you're being mistreated or you're, scratching your head being like, why did that woman say that to me? Or why did this happen? Or why did this person think that they could just show up this way? It's no one's fault but your own. And I know that you're mad at me right now, and I know you're like, "Katie, you're such a bitch." Yes, this is not the Lick Your Butthole podcast. This is the Ambitious podcast. This is about being the HBIC, the head bitch in control of your ambitious life, which also means being in total control of herself. So we cannot control everything in the world, but we can control some things. And I think that teaching people how you desire to be treated is an art form that should be taught to us at a very young age. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is we have to set really pristine, strong boundaries. And once we set those pristine and strong boundaries, we cannot go backwards. So if you always are allowing people in your life, whether it's the cat down the road or the waitress at your local restaurant or your mother or your boyfriend or your best friend, if you allow them to treat you disrespectfully and unfairly, and how they're showing up to you does not align with who you are and your core desired feelings, you are essentially telling them that this behavior is acceptable. And conversely, if you respond assertively and consistently to mistreatment, you can discourage it and establish a more respectful dynamic. So I'm going to give you a little story. So one of my biggest things, and I think that this has to do with growing up with not a lot, and being around a lot of poverty and a lot of lack mindset and not enoughness, sometimes I will be way too nice and too like chummy with people in the service industry that are supposed to be serving me. Mostly it has to do with like mostly like restaurants or like a bar. Okay. Not that I go boozing every night, but if I go to like a local restaurant and I'm very friendly to the server, let's just say for sake of conversation. And my husband points this out to me. He's like, "You're a little too like nice to people." And what happens is the first time they meet me, they serve you and they give you like the best service possible. And then what happens is, as they become more familiar with you and you're kind to them and you tip them really well, and then like if they forget to bring you water or they fuck up on your food or, whatever, and you're like, "Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it." Because, I was in the service industry for a really long time in the restaurant bar business. So I know how you can get in the weeds and I know it's stressful and I know it could be super overwhelming. But when I was a server, I always gave the best possible quality service that I could give. And I always say to myself, if I was the person on the other side, the receiving end, how would I want to experience this experience, right? Now, not every server, not every bartender can give you the best service for whatever reason, and that's okay because people are human and, it's not always gonna be perfect. But I noticed that and a good friend of mine said this to me once. He said, "Katie, be friendly but not familiar. Like, you can be kind and you can be sweet, but you have to follow this kind of invisible line that exists, and you can't step over that line because as soon as you do, right, um, it just changes the dynamic. So one time I remember we were at a restaurant, my husband and I had known this waitress for a while, and she was really cool, and she's very sweet, very funny, very kind. And one day, she said something to me like, "Oh, do you want like this extra thing on your food or whatever?" I'm just making up because I can't remember what it was, and I do remember this. I said, "Yeah, fuck me up." Like I was just fucking with her, and she like laughed. But ever since I said that to her, she never treated me like I was Katie motherfucking Boyd. She treated me almost like I was just like, "Oh, it's just Katie. Like, who cares? We don't have to bring her water. We don't have to get her meal correct. We don't have to do this, but she's still gonna tip me really well." And my husband said to me, he goes, "Don't talk to people like that anymore." He goes, "I know you're funny and I know you love to have fun and you love to make people feel comfortable." He goes, "But every time you do that, you always end up fucking yourself over." And I know what it feels like to feel mistreated and not treated to the best ability possible. So I always try to, when I show up to people, I always try my best to give them extra, right? I always try to show up in a different way. And sometimes it doesn't always work out for me, right? So we have to make sure that whether it is like a family member, or it's a server at your local restaurant, or it's the cat down the road, we have to show up the way that we desire to be treated. When I get a massage, I just came back from Lisbon. And every time I go to Lisbon, I always stay at the Four Seasons for a couple of days. And I always go to this one person who's a masseuse, and she's fucking incredible, dude. This girl's next level. Her name is Dominika. She's a Polish girl. She's fucking amazing. I've never had a massage like that in my life. Like it's sick. Like this girl is like next level. And I'm so kind to her. I'm so sweet, but I know like I love this massage so much. I don't want her to like, because I go to Lisbon a lot. I go to Portugal a lot. And I'm like, I want her to really show up and give me this massage the way I want it. So like I'm very kind to her. I'm very nice. And I talk to her, but it's nothing ever personal. I don't even want her to kind of know who I am. I just want her to treat me like, how she treats everybody else. And like when she's massaging me, I don't talk. And she'll say to me like, "Oh, is the pressure good?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, it's amazing. It's amazing." But years ago, I would like talk to the girl that was massaging me the whole time. And then I started to notice that what will happen is, and I bet you guys are all out there laughing like, "Oh my God, is Katie in my fucking head right now?" Because I do the same shit. But I started to notice like as I got more close to the person, the level of service was never there ever again. And it's almost like they just like, "Oh, it's just Katie. She's like our friend, and she's like gonna just come in and she's gonna tip me well. It doesn't really matter." And then I was like, "What? Where did this come from? Like, why am I acting this way?" And it's funny because I took my mom away to the Woodstock Inn in Vermont once, and I was like, "Mom, listen, I don't want you to go in there in your massage and talk to these people. Just go in and be nice and then just like relax and da da da." And she's like, "Okay, I will." And then she came out like 90 minutes later and she's like, "I know this whole girl's life story and da 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 da." And I'm like, "Bitch, I am paying for this. Like, do you feel relaxed right now?" She's like, "No, that poor girl, her life is so fucked up and all this shit." And I'm like, "Oh my fucking God." So we have to have clear, pristine boundaries with everyone that we come into contact with. And because listen, it's not that you're not a nice person. It's just a slippery slope. And if you desire to have that level of treatment, that level of service, you have to show up. And it may not be your authentic self, but you have to protect yourself. So setting clear cut, concise boundaries, those boundaries could mean you're getting a massage, and once those hands go on you, you stop talking. The only time you're gonna talk is if you want them to change something or if they ask you, like, "Is the pressure good?" And if it is, it is, and if it's not, then you can kind of fix that, right? Or, you know, when you're at a restaurant and people aren't giving you the best service, you either A, can decide not to go back to that restaurant, but what I would do is I would shift my energy to how you are showing up to that person, excuse me. So if they're dumb fucks, they won't get the picture. You might have to like go the next level, but mostly people are pretty decently smart and they're going to be like, oh, Katie's a little different. I better step up my game. Right. The next thing that we have to do is when the mistreatment happens, we have to respond to it right away. So if we allow others to treat us disrespectfully or unfairly, we're essentially teaching them that such behavior is acceptable. Conversely, if you respond assertively and consistently to mistreatment, you can discourage it and establish a more respectful dynamic. I'm going to tell you a little story. So I go to this place to have a service, and the girls that all work there are fucking awesome. I love them all. They're super sweet. They're super good kids. But I noticed that when I walk in, because of who I am, I feel like the younger girls, they like want to talk to me, they want my advice, and I love that they respect me and love me and they like trust me, right? That's what I deeply desire that from people. I desire them to feel open with me and to trust me and to value my advice or whatever. But I noticed like the last time I went in to get my service that they all just kind of glommed around me and they were just like riding me for all this information. And I'm literally like, wait a minute, this is what I do for a living and I get paid like a lot of money. Like, why am I giving this, free service out? So I listened to one of the girls in particular. I listened to her for like good 45 minutes of my service. And then I was like, hey, this is what I do on my app. Like, you should really join my app, and I sent her the link to the app and blah, 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 blah. She was like, oh, yeah, yeah, of course. She even said to me at one point, I should just hire you for a session. And I was like, girl, like, I'm expensive. Like, you're better off doing this unless you really want to get into like a mentorship container with me and like really take your life to the next level. I mean, the app is amazing too, but if you're working on something very specific, mentorship is like where it's at. So I sent her the link and she never thanked me for it. She never even acknowledged, and she obviously didn't sign up for the app. So now what I have to do is next time I go in for this service, I have to say to her, like, yeah, like last time we spoke, I gave you a lot of good advice and I don't feel like you really valued it. And you definitely didn't value it when I sent you the app because, this is what I do for a living. And it's almost like when you find out someone's a lawyer and you're like, hey, I got in this car accident in 1987. Like, what do you think about this? The lawyer's like, I'm an intellectual property lawyer. I'm not like a fucking car accident lawyer or whatever. Or, you meet a doctor and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I fart a lot after I eat peanuts. And the doctor's like, what the fuck? I'm just trying to, I'm at a party. Why are you laying this on me? Like, we would never do this to, I shouldn't say that. That's a fucking lie. I was going to say we never would do this to like people like that, but that's not true because I just gave you two really good examples and people do that to doctors and lawyers all the time. Or like people will say to my husband, they'll say about their child, like, oh, I think my son has ADHD and he's really aggressive and he's oppositional. And my husband's like, bring him to karate. And like, do you think that those people ever listen to my husband and bring them to karate? Even though getting into karate and learning leadership and discipline and how to handle your emotions is so incredible for children. But it's like sometimes people just want to hear themselves fucking talk, you know? And because we're loving, kind people, we really truly desire to help people. But there has to be some kind of a cutoff because if someone is taking up time, precious time of yours when you should be relaxing, when you should be having a service, when you should be out with your husband having a drinks or dinner, then why shouldn't we, I don't want to say disrespect them right back, but why shouldn't we respond to that treatment and say like, hey, like, I don't talk like this to people. If you want to hire me and have a one-on-one, like this is the price and this is how you do it. Or, when people will, this happens to me all the time too. And I feel so bad, but this is just what it is. Like people will be like, hey girl, I need to have dinner with you or have coffee with you because I really want your advice on this thing with business. And I'm like, babe, this is what I do for a living. Like, I would charge my own fucking blood, like, because what happens is when you provide a service or you provide knowledge or energy and you're always giving it and you're never getting that reciprocation, it's just cleaning out your energy bank and it's making their bank grow, and then that's why you feel like a bag of smashed assholes all the time. A lot of my clients will be like, well, I'm an empath and I'm this. I'm like, so am I. I'm an empath. I had a traumatic childhood. I'm a people pleaser. I want to do the same shit as you. I want to just help people and fix them. It's in my fucking DNA. But it's not helping them because people don't pay attention to what they don't pay for. I have a couple of people who, can't afford to work with me, yet they text me all the time and ask me like, "Oh, who did this for you?" And like, "How can I do that?" And like, "Will you help me start a podcast? Like, what's your advice on this?" And I'm like, "This is what I do for a living. Like, I'm not here to like give you free service. I would never ask you to serve me for free." Like, sometimes we really have to tell people to fuck right off. We have to give them the fucking ticket to stamp the fuck off ticket to fuck right off. And I know, oh God, it's so hard to do this. And I'm like, I'm saying this and my butthole is puckering too right now, but it's how we keep ourselves high vibrational. It's how we keep ourselves. I'm an angry fucking bitch. Okay. I am angry most of the day. I always just wake up angry. I'm an aggressive human. It's how I'm wired. It's also from trauma. And I'm working on that on a minute to minute basis. I want you guys to all know that. But sometimes, like, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to tell people to fuck off, to respond to the mistreatment right then and there, and not let it get so far away that I know it's gone too far when I look at Matt and I go, "Can you believe that bitch just did that to me?" And he's like, "Yeah, but why does she think she can? You taught her how to treat you, Katie. You obviously gave her some kind of permission to show up in this way." And he's fucking right. And it pisses me off every time. But I have to be honest with myself. So responding to the mistreatment is the second way to really start to rewire and recalibrate if people are showing up in a way that does not make you feel ambitious. The next thing is we have to really cultivate and hone that self-awareness. Being mindful of our own reactions and behavior is truly key when it comes to this. And you have to also consider why you might be allowing certain behaviors and what needs to change in yourself and what needs that you're not meeting within yourself. And really addressing these issues can really impact how you're showing up and how you're interacting with others. So, like I said before, considering why you may be allowing these certain behaviors. So, I went to Portugal recently and we went on some tours because I went with our really close family friends who, they're like our blood. And I really desired deeply to show them Portugal without me having to like be the tour guide. So we went through a company who did like some tours for us, and there was a huge blackout on the Iberian Peninsula. And so we lost a day and our flights got fucked up on the way home. Our flights got fucked up on the way there. And instead of having like a couple days to like calibrate to the time change and all the things that we wanted to do when we first landed, we really couldn't. So we went like right into tours. And the first like couple days were like easy because we're like excited to be there and everything is great. And then I could see like everyone, my husband and my two close friends, I could see them by like the third day, they were like, "Oh my God, this is a lot." And there was a part of me that's like, fuck, we already paid for these tours. We worked so hard to create this like incredible itinerary to hit all the beats, to go to the wineries and to go to this place and that place. And, I felt really bad telling our tour guide, like, "Hey, like, we're tired. Like, can we go back after lunch?" So, like, the first day where everyone started feeling like shit, I noticed that we were just kind of like rolling with it. And then like Matt was like, "Katie, like you really got to say something. Like we're exhausted. We can't do much more." And like I felt bad because I was like, "Oh, this is what this guy does for a living." And I don't want him to think, because we're going to tip him great regardless, whether he did 7 tours with us or 0. And I was like, I started feeling bad. And I was like, "Oh, I don't want him to think we're not going to tip him. And I don't want him to think we're rude. And I don't want him to think we're this. And I don't want him to think we're that." And I started to really have to think like, I was raised by people who had like a lack mindset. I was raised by also other Portuguese people who, there's never enough, like money doesn't grow on trees. Who do you think we are, the Rockefellers? So there's always like this part of my brain that I really work hard on dumbing down a lot, to not think that way. But it always pops up in the weirdest times. And I started feeling like really bad. And I was like, okay, I'm going to fucking just say it. So I said to the guy, his name was Luis. She was fucking amazing. I was like, "Luis, we're really tired. Um, like, I don't think we're gonna do this today." And he was like, "Oh, you don't wanna do the this and the that?" And I'm like, "No," like, and he gave me a little bit of the Portuguese guilt trip, but then I was like, "No, he works for us, I don't work for him." I had to, like, rewire my brain in real time. I also get really car sick when I travel in the back seat of a car, and so I was just like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna go in the back seat of the car." And I remember we were driving in Sintra through all these, like, windy roads, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna throw up, I'm gonna throw up." And I had taken Dramamine and the whole 9 yards, and I said to Matt, like, "Hey, can you tell him, like, we gotta pull over for a second and I gotta change seats?" And so Matt's like, "Hey, Katie's not feeling well, like, can we pull over for a second?" And he was like, "Oh, we only have, like, 10 more minutes." And I was like, "Fuck, okay, can I make it 10 more minutes?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "Luis," I said to him in Portuguese, I was like, I'm gonna throw up, like, you need to pull over." And he's like, "Okay." And he pulled right over. But, like, I could have white knuckled it for 10 more minutes, and I know these are such, like, small little petty things that I'm telling you guys about, but I know that the small petty things are what bother us on a large level because they compound. It's not just one, I'm car sick. It's not just one, I don't want to do this. It's not just one thing. It's so many things compiled that we keep saying yes to when we really mean no. And that starts to chip away at who we are as people. And so the more that I flex that muscle, and I have that self-awareness of like, no one's going to advocate for me. No one's going to come and save me. If I don't like how I'm being treated or I don't like something, I have to be vocal and I have to say it no matter how uncomfortable it is for me. And then on the last day, it was so funny. We were supposed to do like a wine tour and a cork tour and all this fucking shit. And we were already so fucking tired and jet lagged. And so we just said to Luigi, like, "Hey, we're not going to go tomorrow." And he was like, "Really?" And I was like, "No, we're not going to go." And it was so cute because he came and he brought us this like very special wine that you really can't find anywhere in Portugal. And he came to our hotel on our last day and we just had some wine and we just chatted and it was so lovely. And then like we got to like just relax for the rest of the day. And it was like one of the best days we had on our trip because it was like we were just doing whatever the fuck we wanted to do. And it ended up being so awesome. And now we have a friend for life with this gentleman who lives in Portugal. And every time like we go there, we're gonna meet up with him. And if he comes to the States, like we'll probably have him at our house for dinner or whatever. But it's like I could have just white knuckled it. We all could have just done it and said, fuck it, we'll just do it. We already paid for it. Who cares? But like it's also proving to the universe like that we are enough, that we are abundant, that we're not in lack mindset and that we're not in that scarcity mindset. And the more that we can remove ourselves from those energies, the more abundant that we are going to be. So being self-aware and saying to yourself, okay, no one's coming to save me. No one's going to pull the car over unless you say you're going to fucking blow chunks. Like make the shit happen because every time that we speak up for ourselves, we are self-aware, we take that radical responsibility, we become stronger and more powerful, and then we have less instances of those types of energies showing up in our lives, right? The next thing that we have to have is clear-cut, concise communication. So clearly expressing our needs and feelings are always essential. And if you're not assertive or direct, others may not understand your boundaries or expectations. The problem is we think that everybody is a mind reader. We think that they should just understand, but they don't understand. Most people don't even know how to wipe their own ass after they take a fucking dump. How are they supposed to get into our minds and like think for us and be like, does Katie like this? Does Katie not like this? Does so and so like this? Does she not like this? Whatever. We have to be clear cut and concise. So for me, I have a hard time with that because, and I know that you guys are like, really, Katie, you have a hard time being clear. Yes, I do. I do sometimes because I don't want people not to like me. And sometimes I'm like, well, maybe I'm being too aggressive, or maybe I'm jumping the gun, or maybe this is not what this person really feels. But like, I'm also so hyper aware of energy that like I have to trust my gut more. And I think that the more that we can clearly communicate how we truly feel, then everyone around us is just going to get it. Like, I don't like bicycles. Okay. I don't like to ride bikes. And every time I go somewhere with people, they're like, let's rent a bike. And I'm like, no. Or like, let's go rent bikes or drive bikes on the beach. I'm like, no. And I remember years ago, I'd be like, okay, I'll rent the bike and I'll fucking go on the bike and I'll do it. And I would do it and I would fucking hate it the whole time. Right. Or like, there's certain food I don't like. There's certain things I don't like. I am never gonna not fly first class unless I have to. So for example, we just went to Costa Rica for the Radiant AF retreat, and I'm a first class bitch. I can't not be. That's just who I am now. Once you do like first class Emirates, you can never go back. You can't. Or once you fly private, you can never go back. And I know that sounds like spoiled bitch energy, but I've worked really fucking hard to become as successful as I am to be able to afford those things. Okay. And if you're like mad at me for saying that, work a little harder, bitch, make some more money. I don't know what to tell you. But there were no first class flights to San Jose, Costa Rica for the times that we could get there. And I was like, fuck it, we'll just go JetBlue extra leg room. Ew. It was so the fucking plane was so dirty and so disgusting. The flight attendants were such creeps. They were cretins. They were disgusting. Okay. They were just rude and it was just not the vibe. And I'm like saying to myself, like, there had to be a better way than this. And sometimes there's not. Sometimes there's not. And there wasn't actually. I'm being dramatic. There was not a first class flight anywhere to be seen. But my husband knows if we can get first class, we're going to get it. It doesn't matter how much it costs. Katie does not fly this way, right? I also don't like if I'm in another country and I need an Uber, I'm not going to get like a fucking ride share. I'm going to fucking either get like an Uber X, like a black car where I know that it's like clean and nice and it's a Mercedes or it's a Tesla or it's a this or it's that or whatever. Like, again, I don't want to sit in someone's filthy fart car. And I know that, again, these are petty little things that I'm talking about, but it's first you have to start with the petty things to flex the muscle to get to the larger things, right? So the petty things could be like, I only fly first class. I only eat at these types of restaurants. I only do this. And then those things will compound. So then it's like, I only hang out with people this way. I only do these types of business deals. I only make decisions like this. You got to do the petty small shit to get to the big thing. You got to water the root to yield the fruit. You got to know what you stand for because if you don't, you'll fall for anything. And sometimes being a clear cut, concise communicator means ruffling some feathers. It also can mean people don't like you. And you know what? Not everyone's going to like you. You're not fucking guacamole with Tostitos. Okay. Not everyone's going to like you. So just know that going into it, you're going to hurt a lot of feelings if you're like this. But I'd rather hurt other people's feelings than feel sad and depressed and anxious and resentful. Because I feel like even more the lower the this is just my personal opinion, but I think the lowest vibrational frequency energy that we can feel is resentment. And the reason why we feel resentment is because we're not fucking showing up the way that we know we need to show up and people are treating us in accordance with how we're showing up. So if you're feeling resentful ever in your life, and part of my human design, which we're going to be talking about that in a couple episodes when Michaela McLean, my human design expert and soul sister, comes on. When you know what makes you tick, you can't go back. You just can't. And one of the things with my human design, because I'm a manifesting generator, is when I'm in perfect alignment with my truest, highest self, I feel such happiness and satisfaction. But when I'm doing things that do not align with who I truly am, I feel angry and frustrated, and then those things lean and just move into that resentful feeling. And the reason why you feel angry and unsatisfied and resentful is because you are not in control. You're not being ambitious. Okay. And I'm the queen of ambitious land, and even I feel that way sometimes, but that's how God speaks to you. God speaks to you through the way that you feel. And when you start to feel the opposite of your highest, greatest good and your truest self, you have to start clearly communicating what you desire. Because no one is a mind reader. Even the people who have that gift, they're not in your head asking, what do you want for dinner? They don't give a fuck. Okay. Now, this is super important for teaching people how to treat you, is consistency. And this is a hard road. It's a slippery slope because once you've been inconsistent for so long, it's really difficult to get back there. But there is hope. I promise you. It's just like knowing better, doing better, and then becoming hyper consistent. So it's truly so important. It's so integral when you are rewiring the way that people treat you and how people show up towards you, is to become consistent in how you set the boundaries and then how you respond to mistreatment and then how you communicate it, right? So the first three things all combined. So if you waver or you're inconsistent or you're wishy-washy, others are going to and this is just human nature. It's not that they're evil people. Others are going to take advantage of the opportunity to test those boundaries, right? So I'm working with a woman right now. She's fucking amazing. She is going to be so successful. She's already so successful, but she's going to be so much more successful once we really start to rewire her clients. So, one of the things that I was talking to her about when we first started mentorship was, what are your biggest things that really keep you up at night, that really bother you? And she's like, honestly, it's like some of my clients really take advantage of me. They don't adhere to my 24-hour cancellation policy. They don't want to have a credit card on file. They don't want to put it down. All these different things. She's in the service industry. And I was like, well, have you ever really told them, like, in a blanket way, how? And she's like, I do, but like sometimes I do, and sometimes I get weak, and sometimes I forget, and whatever. And I was like, okay, have you ever sent an email out to your database? And she's like, no, I really haven't. So right now we're in the talks of creating an email that talks about, what she has coming up down the pipeline for her services, and how valued all her clients are, and whatever. And then to reiterate how she desires her clients to show up, and also have an e-signature on this email that says, by signing this, that I put this in front of you, and that you're going to adhere to these rules and regulations, or you're not going to be a client of mine anymore. And she was like really scared about it. But I know that once we launch this, it's going to change her fucking life. So what we're doing is we're going to say, okay, going forward, these are my boundaries. If you give me less than 24 hours notice, your payment is in full. You have a credit card on file. If you give me 48 hour, or less notice, it's this much money. It's a percentage of this. It's this, it's that. If you buy product from another company or another esthetician, and you want to still text me about asking about fucking, oh, how do I use this product? It's like, well, where did you get it? You didn't even buy this from me. It's the same product I sell here. I could have overnighted it to you. Who do whatever. And it's just having these clear cut, concise boundaries, and then sticking to them. So it's one thing to say, like, these are my boundaries, but then you have to stay consistent. You can't just have an off day or a bad day or a sad day, mad day, tired day, and let these people get away with fucking murder, because as soon as they take an inch, they will take a mile. And it's not because they're mean, horrible people. It's because this is fucking human nature. No one is out to get you. No one's trying to fuck up your day. I mean, there are evil people out there, but mostly 90% of the human population, they're not there to fuck you up. Okay. But we have to stay consistent. I had a girl reach out to me a couple weeks ago, who's a very good friend of mine. I love her like a sister. And she's like, hey, I want to take you out to dinner. I want to pick your brain about A, B, and C with work. And I said, I don't do that. Here's a questionnaire. Fill it out. Let's get on a discovery call. Let's see if I can even help you in the first place. But taking me out to dinner, giving me a free meal is not going to make me happy, and it's not going to be in alignment with who I am as a business person. I mean, I have a fucking track record of helping people become seven-figure earners. Okay? I'm not giving you millions of dollars and all of my 25 plus years of experience for a free meal or a coffee. And the fact that people even think that that's okay is fucked up. But some way I gave this person or these people the leniency and the energy and the idea to say, oh, it's just Katie. And it's like, no, it's not just Katie. It's not fucking just Katie. You know, I'm going to be so fucking gangster right now, but I love Goodfellas. It's one of my favorite movies. And remember when Joe Pesci's character went into that bar that night, and the guy was like fucking with him, fucking with him, fucking with him, because he used to shine shoes in the neighborhood, and now he's like a made man in the mafia. And the guy said to him, mouthing off, like, go get your fucking shine box. And you know what happened to that motherfucker? Okay. He ended up getting fucked up. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to whack anybody, even though I would like to some days. But what I'm saying is, sometimes people remember the old you, and you have to sometimes tell them, like, I know that I was a shoe shine girl back in the day, but I'm not that fucking person anymore. And sometimes that's really hard, and it's difficult, and it's uncomfortable, but sometimes we have to show up that way, because people are going to keep telling you to go get your shine box. And let me tell you, that's not something that I want in my life, and I'm sure it's not something that you desire in yours. Okay. The next thing is, and this is the last thing, and I think this is really truly all that, and I'm going to use the N word, that we need to really start putting these boundaries in place, and kind of reteaching, or now teaching new people how to treat you and reteaching and rewiring the way that old people, are treating you now and how they need to show up to listen, because you don't need to keep these people in your life. If you keep doing this over and over again and they're not respecting you, like they're literally telling you, fuck you. And it's time for you to go, well, then fuck you too. And then peace the fuck out. You don't have to stay anywhere where you're not being treated like the queen that you are. And don't fucking forget that. Okay. I don't care if it's with your family, your spouse, your children, your clients, the servers at your local pub or restaurant, the people that you talk to on the phone that are making, reservations at a hotel for you. It does not fucking matter. Okay. But the last one is we have to have self-respect. We have to not only have self-respect for ourselves, but we also have to have self-respect for we have to have respect for the other person as well, because by you not telling them what you truly need from them or what you expect from them, you're not respecting them. Okay. So having a very strong sense of self-worth and enoughness is crucial when you are teaching people how to show up and how to treat you. And when you truly value yourself, you're so much more likely to stand in your power, stand up for your needs and your rights, and you truly teach other people to respect you, but also you're being a good role model for those people, right? You're being a good role model for those people. So if you are in a place right now, like I have been many a time in my life, I still have this happen to me all the time, where you're like in a resentful spiral where you're like, what the fuck? It is really, truly time for all of us to stand in our power, to set some clear-cut, concise boundaries, to keep consistent with it, and to keep checking yourself before you fucking riggedy wreck yourself, because no one is going to come and save you. No one is going to be like, oh, wow, Katie, she's really ambitious. I'm going to really give her a solid today. No one gives a fuck. No one, most people in this world, guys, I want you to hear this loud and clear. They are just trying to fucking make it through the day. They're not thinking about how you feel. They don't care. And it's not because they don't love you. It's not because they don't like you. It's not because they don't respect you. They literally are just trying to make it through the day. I think that we are expecting too much out of people. Okay. So, if you truly desire to take your life to the next level, heed the words that I said in this podcast. If you feel like other people are going to get a lot out of this podcast, please share it. And if you're truly ready to stand in your power and take your life to the next level, go to www.kbmfc.com. Check out either signing up for my app or hopping on a discovery call with me. It's totally complimentary, and I would love to do it to figure out how we together can go to the next level, whether you end up on my Ambitious app or you end up part of Katie Boyd's Misfit Club, or you end up one of my incredible Ambitious mentorship clients. It doesn't matter to me. My truest desire in life and my purpose is to help each and every one of you live an ambitious life and make the rest of your life the best of your life. And so in the meantime, don't forget to stay ambitious. Don't forget to share this podcast with everyone that's in your soul circle. And like I always say, see you next Tuesday.